My father's sins should all be washed away. Yama granted him the boon. The second boon was, my father should accept me when I go back to him after visiting you. This boon was also granted. The third boon was, tell me what happens after death. Some say that man lives after death. Some say that man is not alive after death. What is the truth? Yama was shocked at Nachiketa's question. He told him, please do not ask me this question. You are asking the very secret of death which I cannot deliver to you. If I deliver it to you, you will become enlightened. I will give you immeasurable wealth if you wish, but please don't ask me this question. But Nachiketa was insistent. He said, even if I take all this wealth from you, I will be a mere trustee to your wealth for about 100 years to 1,000 years, that's all. I have to come to you only once that period is over. It is not going to be of any use to me. So please tell me the secret of death instead. Yama saw the maturity and commitment of the boy to know the truth. He decided to offer the boy the conscious experience of death itself. The experience he took the boy through became the experience of the soul for the boy, and Nachiketa flowered and became enlightened. This is a beautiful story from the Upanishad. Don't analyze whether the story is a fact or not. Don't start looking for dates and history. It conveys the truth, and that is enough. Use it as a ladder to reach the truth instead of clinging on to the ladder and missing the truth. Death is the guru that gives enlightenment itself. Normally, in all our lives, death is the only thing that comes on time. We cannot ask for even 1 minute extra. And in our lives, death takes away everything from us, our relatives, our wealth, everything. But for Nachiketa, death gives everything and also enlightenment. Why this partiality? What is the difference between Nachiketa and us? The only reason is, we are all running away from death while Nachiketa faces death. 4 things need to be understood from this wonderful story. The first thing, when we go in search of death, when we face death, it will not be there. Second thing, even if death is there, it is not the terrifying thing that we think it is. It is loving and giving. The third thing, death is our greatest teacher ever. The fourth thing, death is a thing that can give us the ultimate gift, enlightenment. Somehow for most people, life never goes beyond the Swadishtana chakra. Life never goes beyond the fear of death. We live and die between the Mooladhara and the Swadishtana chakras. Desires and fear. We don't know any other way of life. Or we don't have the courage to take on any other way of life. In earlier times, people lived without the life security that we have today. There was no vaccination available against fatal diseases. There was no advance warning of natural calamities. There was no security against famine or floods. So people were always mentally prepared for struggle, even for death. Especially the warrior class. They had to be ever ready for death. The samurai warriors of ancient Japan knew the way to face death calmly. If they were defeated in battle, they would simply pierce a long needle into the Swadishtana chakra. This is a highly professional technique by which the life energy contained in the Swadishtana chakra is released, resulting in instantaneous and painless death. The process was known as harakiri. Have you heard of it? We all live in constant fear of death. We are ready to escape it at all cost. Death is seen upon us as our greatest enemy. A small story about Socrates. Socrates was killed by being forced to drink a poisonous juice. Just before he drank the poison, one of his disciples asked him, "Master, are you not afraid of dying? You appear to be so calm." To that Socrates replied, "Why should I be? I know that only two things can happen after death. Either I will continue to exist in some form or name, or I will cease to exist after death. In the former case, there is nothing to worry about. In the latter case, who will remain to worry? So either way, there is nothing to fear." Socrates was fearless of death purely because he had a clear understanding of death and its consequences. Death is always looked upon as a discontinuity, and that is why people suffer when they see death. The basic understanding of death is lacking. Death is never a discontinuity. It is a continuity in some form or the other, or simply liberation, that's all. When man understands this, he will realize how foolish it is to suffer on this account. Man is so attached to the physical form, and that is why he suffers so much. The body is a mere vehicle for the soul. This has to be understood very clearly. The body is a mere vehicle for the soul. Although the only certain thing on planet Earth for man is death, he is always taken up by surprise when it actually happens. This is the most surprising thing about man. A small story. A lady was celebrating her 100th birthday. Her entire family was there for the occasion. They were opening all the gifts and reading all the cards that had been received by family and friends. They showed the lady one card that had been sent to her by her friend who was 94 years old. The lady shrieked, "God, she is alive! We are able to apply death to everyone else except us. We are all like this. Everything in life we are prepared for except our own death." The irony is, everything in life is so unpredictable except death. The only certain thing in life is death. But the last thing we would like to be told is that sooner or later we are going to die. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, he got his enlightenment through a conscious experience of death. When Ramana was a young boy, one day he was just lying on his bed in his uncle's house in Madurai in India. Suddenly he got the feeling that he was going to die. He felt that death was coming upon him. He had two choices, either to resist the feeling or to accept it and go through it. Usually people resist, so they pass into coma and they leave the body in a state of unconsciousness. 99% of us leave the body in a state of unconsciousness. Though we know from the moment of birth that our life will culminate in death, we never try to visualize it. We never try to actualize the possibility, never try to welcome it. At least once, if you go through it with consciousness, you will lose your fear for it automatically. Ramana was courageous enough to choose the second path. He just cooperated with the feeling. He allowed death to happen. He decided to see what would happen during death. He saw clearly one by one the parts of his body dying. Slowly his whole body was dead. He saw his body turn into ashes. Suddenly he realized that something remained even after that, something which cannot be destroyed. It hit him that he was pure consciousness at that time, beyond the body and beyond the mind. He was simply a witness to the whole thing. That knowledge was tremendous, and it never left him when he came back into his body. When he came back into his body,